hardly brimming with confidence in that reply, Nick. Nevertheless, Michael Gove, the Cabinet Office Minister, insisted that Boris Johnson was doing a good job.
The Prime Minister is in good form. Obviously, we face a very serious situation. He's determined to do everything that he can, and he's showing great leadership.
Michael Gove, concluding CEO Usherwood's report 8 minutes after 7. His popularity, the popularity indeed of the government in your eyes, in just a moment, are they doing a good job? Bear in mind, this is unforeseen circumstances, and the gravity and indeed breadth and depth of it is quite extraordinary. Dr. Gerard Lyons is Chief Economic Strategist at Networth and Senior Fellow at Policy Exchange, and is close to Boris Johnson, was his economic advisor when Boris Johnson, was Mayor of London, who joins me now. Dr. Lyons, if you'll allow a sporting metaphor, do you think Boris Johnson started to lose the dressing room? Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Well, actually, what you've been involved in, I think, is still so many different factors at play. What's clear is there is still a lot of support for the government's stance, but what we've seen in recent weeks, not just over last week, is that there's greater internal criticism. The death numbers are clearly one factor, so I would suggest handling care homes and PPE. But in the last week, as your colleague Theo touched on, it's clearly the handling and the uncertainty around the unlocking process. So what I think we're seeing is still concern about the lack of clarity. So I would say it's difficult to be critical, as you say, because we're in such an unknown situation. And the same problems we're seeing here in the UK being seen in other countries, particularly in Western Europe. So I think the key is how we move on from here and what follows next, given the clear message given from the public to the government over the last week.
Your point in Europe is well made, because you'll be aware governments in Italy, in France and Spain have received similar condemnation from the media and their citizens. Coming to last Sunday, obviously not yesterday, Sunday before, now the dust has well and truly settled. Can we agree it wasn't one of his finest performances, Dr. Lyons?
No, I think what needs to be balanced, I think there were some positives in terms of the messages that the government was getting across. The positives, in my view, was that they're unlocking in phases, and they're not going to move to the next phase until they're clear the virus is under control. That they're unlocking by economic activity and not patterns by age groups, which was suggested at one stage. And also they're stressing behaviours. I think the challenge, and you corrected in terms of your question, the challenge is that it wasn't as clear-cut maybe as it should have been. And that's the real difficulty. We now need to see that critical focus on being alert, because the key from now on is how behaviours change. Testing is important, tracking and tracing is important. If behaviours return to where they were before the crisis, people don't social distance, don't have hygiene, and if they don't wear masks, then the virus could return. And I think it's important now for the government to continue to stress behaviours, because all the science does suggest that if behaviours are different, then we will start to see the virus really brought under control. But on top of that, I think it was positive that the government is trying to unlock the economy, because they're in a very difficult situation. Lots of nuances. It shouldn't be a case of health versus economics. And what I would be positive about the government over last week is that they're trying to focus on reducing the dangers from the virus, while at the same time unlocking the economy and allowing the economy to come back to life. But you're right, it might have been clearer cut and less complex.
Well, to speaking with you, thank you. Look after yourself and your family. Dr. Gerard Lyons, your Chief Economic Strategist at Networth, and you're a Senior Fellow at the Policy Exchange, and you served as the Economic Advisor to Boris Johnson. And Mr. Johnson was the Mayor of London, 12 after 7. Listening to that, Martin McKee, who's Professor of European Public Health at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, and sits on the Independent Sage Committee, a hugely important and influential committee. Your view of perhaps Boris Johnson's speech a week and a day ago, and the general handling by the entire government. Good morning to you, Professor.
Well, I'm very hesitant to criticise anybody, because this is clearly a very challenging situation. How people have responded to it, and I think you picked up that there is a considerable degree of confusion. Clearly there was an issue of making a speech with the documentation only coming 24 hours later, and then the speech to Parliament at that time too. What I would say, listening to Dr. Lyons, is that in the speech and in the documentation there is very much a focus on individual behaviour, which is quite problematic, because we know is by putting in place the contact tracing, the testing and so on, and we're still having significant challenges with that. You mentioned the comparison European countries. And I think if you look at a country like Italy, one of the measures is the all-excess, all-cause mortality. And they did have a number of regions where that went up to over 50% above the baseline, but they did in only 4 out of the 20 regions, whereas in the UK, that's the case in 7 out of the 12 standard regions, with Northern and Scotland, Wales being one each, and then the English region. So I would very much focus on the need to, as I say, ramp up, but certainly to increase the testing and tracing and getting that working out. And there are clearly a lot of problems there.
And you're in a unique position here, Professor, as you look at other parts of Western Europe and you see how they're testing and they're tracing and their general handling, would you say that the United Kingdom is about the same as Spain, France, Germany, other countries, or does Germany still seem as a sort of an exemplar?
Well, Germany is certainly doing very well, as is Austria and the Czech Republic, Slovakia, other countries are. But the thing is that they've managed to get the number of cases right down. And if you look at the all-cause excess mortality, it's certainly come down very quickly in Spain and Italy. And also, I think it's important to say that in the other countries, the epidemics are much more localized. So in Italy, it has been those northern regions of Piedmont, Veneto, Emilia-Romagna, and Lombardy. In Spain, it's been very much concentrated around Madrid. In France, it's been very much concentrated around Paris. That's not what we're seeing in the UK, where it started in London and has now spread to the north.
Grateful for your time. Thank you, Professor Martin McKee, Professor of European Public Health at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. You sit on the Independent SAGE Committee as well. And now, over to you. You've heard the case for and the case against Boris Johnson and the government's handling. And of course, the suggestion, would it hurt if every now and again he did the Downing Street press briefing? Why is it in some instances left to, should we say, rather less charismatic figures? We'll take your views on that. Also coming up after the news, a vaccine for nearly half the country could be available by September.
The first clinical trial of the Oxford vaccine is progressing well. The speed at which Oxford University has designed and organised these complex trials is genuinely unprecedented.
It's Business Secretary Alok Sharma speaking yesterday. 7:15 LBC News headlines and Simon Conway.
Train services are increasing to around 70% of the normal timetable as the coronavirus lockdown in England is gradually lifted. London's congestion charge has been reimposed this morning under the terms of a government bailout for TfL. And the first new jury trials since the COVID-19 lockdown will get underway later. The weather, occasional rain in the north, dry and warm in the south, a high of 22 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Joanne Webb. Only one lane's open on the M20 westbound between junction 6 at Maidstone and 5 at Elsford. There's a load of debris all over the motorway. In Limehouse, very slow on the highway westbound because a car's broken down just after Butcher Road. There are delays back onto the A13. Delays as well in Kew because the Kew Roads had to be closed both ways following an accident. If you need to drive into central London, the ULEZ and congestion charges have been reinstated. And if you need to use the underground, more trains are now running. The frequency of the service has increased and the Circle Line's also back up and running every 15 minutes.
This is LBC. I've used my ample time indoors to hunt down my odd socks. I found one down the sofa, one in the bread bin, and one in a serious relationship with my cat. But there are better ways to spend your time. That's why Money Supermarket is helping you find cheaper insurance, better interest rates, and easier ways to manage your bills. You can find many more small steps towards money car at Money Supermarket.
Call Nick Ferrari now, 0345 6060 973. This is LBC.
Across the nation, we've been discovering loads of new ways to get moving around the home. Why not join in? Join the lounge lunging, 1-2 punching, and the star jumping while the spaghetti's on the hob. Don't let that water boil over. Join the impromptu house parties happening over the phone. And the just 5 minutes of playing astronauts naked in the garden. Please. Join the chair dips, the leg lifts, and the just shaking things out for a bit happening all across the country. Join the movement to see what you can get ready, so stay in, work out.
Well Man and Well Woman multivitamin gummies are great tasting, vegan, and packed with 22 nutrients too, including vitamin B12 to support normal energy release. Well Man and Well Woman, yummy gummies with serious science. From Vitabiotics, the UK's #1 vitamin company. From Boots, pharmacies, and vitabiotics.com.
When you can't even predict what next week will bring, why tie yourself to a 12-month business insurance policy? Give your business the flexibility it needs right now with digital Digital Risks Online. Fully customized cover that you can add to as your business grows or change if your business evolves without any penalties. Digital Risks. Award-winning pay-by-the-month business insurance for modern, fast-changing times. Get your online quote in minutes at digitalrisks.co.uk.
Helen is dreaming of fighting a flock of 40-foot flamingos. But in reality, she's helping fight COVID-19 in her sleep. Like thousands of others, she's joined the Dream Team. By using the Dream Lab app, they're helping scientists speed up the search for potential treatments. Thank you. Keep fighting, Helen. Search Vodafone Dream Lab and join the Dream Team tonight.
Dream Lab app is owned by Vodafone Foundation, an independent charity. Registration number 1089625. Full terms at vodafone.co.uk/dreamlab.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
With Zero, accounting software for small businesses that works anywhere you do.
19 minutes after 7, a couple of polls saying Boris Johnson not doing a good job, but what say you? That's more important to me than what these polls say. As every day and every weekday at this time I give you the figures, so let's do that now. Worldwide, the confirmed number of cases, 4,804,294. The death figure now stands at 316,703. To the United Kingdom, where confirmed cases come in at 243,403. And the number of deaths is 34,636 people succumbing to those symptoms. That's up 170, which of course we need to put that caveat. It is a weekend figure, but it is a lower figure. And on the tests, just over 91,000, so a little over under 9,000 short, or a little over 8,000 short. So that would seem to be that they're getting sort of to that figure. We'll come to your reactions on that in just a moment. Let me quickly go through the front pages of the newspapers. We've quite a wide range of stories, actually. Should find some that are quite positive. Why don't we start with this one, the Daily Mail. Half of Britons could get the jab in months. Isn't that marvellous? We'll be speaking to someone, a scientist involved in hopefully making that a reality later in this hour. Schools continues to dominate some of the other front pages for the Daily Telegraph. Risk of virus spreading in schools is extremely low. The Daily Mirror, of course, very much a Labour supporting paper, isn't having it. Are our kids safe or not, Mr. Gove? And they focus on some questions saying, how can you guarantee that a teacher won't catch the virus at school? Well, in reality, he or she has got to make their way to school as well, whether by foot, bus, bicycle, car, whatever it might be. So, of course, you can't guarantee it. It's an impossible set of circumstances. If you want to get away this summer, I know there's many tough quarantine plans, couples' holiday hopes, self-isolate for 14 days after going abroad, unless you're a lorry driver. We've got the Culture Secretary with us later in the hour. We'll put some questions to him over that. For the economy, Powell, this is Federal Reserve Chair Jay Powell, warns the US recovery could take until the end of 2021, which is rather gloomy. The tracing argument, or tracing row, goes on for the Guardian. Ministers under fire amid chaos over contract tracing. The Metro looks at us all getting back on railways, and indeed we're with a reporter at a railway station later in the hour, getting back on tracks, and there's the same sort of feel for the front page of the IPM's virus safety inspections at work don't exist, as they have pictures of people leaving a London Underground train. The Daily Express talks about the vaccine as well. Britain's race for 30 million. None of this, though, for the Sun, excuse me, which goes with the story, probably appropriately enough then, because they do feature very much on celebrities. This England striker Callum Hudson-Odoi arrested yesterday, breaching lockdown at 4 a.m. with a model he'd met online. So it would appear that there's some rather hot water there. That's the front page of the Sun. Should we press pause on our conversation specifically about the virus and go back to something that you and I used to talk about at great length, it seems ceaselessly, and it seemed like the biggest thing since the last biggest thing. I speak, of course, of Brexit, that's right, but the conversation has moved on since. But it returns now, and here's Cabinet Minister Michael Gove speaking with Sky News yesterday.
The EU want us to accept their rules even though we're outside their club, and they want to have access to our fish even though we've left. We're making it clear to the EU that we can't do a deal on those terms, but I am confident that a deal is there to be done. It just requires a degree of flexibility on the EU side, which I'm sure that they will appreciate the need to show.
Well, how sure can we be? A headline in today's Daily Telegraph. Brussels is losing the argument in Brexit talks. Frost tells PM, that Frost being David Frost, the government's chief Brexit negotiator. The story is written by telling us Brussels correspondent James Crisper joins me now. Give us the background then to the messages or signals that the PM's receiving, James. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Well, I mean, really, you have to imagine, Nick, that we've got two big beasts facing each other here, the UK and the EU. Both sides are in their trenches, and both are saying to the other side, you've got to move. And that's almost been the story of Brexit, in a way, but we've had this constant, no, you must go first, no, you must go first, and we're back in that situation. But last week, trade negotiations continued in Brussels and went very badly. I mean, on Friday, I don't think I've seen Michel Barnier look so angry.
Wow.